Well, welcome to my panel, Surviving Conventions Without Losing Your Mind. I'm your host, Bailey Hager, also known as Pink-Haired Maniac, also known as Anime Lover 4, also known as Baka Chip Cookie. I am not famous in any of those names. I wish I was, but I'm not. Two of those are my YouTube names, and I'm not famous in that either, but I've got some subscribers, so that's nice.
You're probably trending.
Yes, I'm sort of trending, just a little bit. Among the cosplay community, I am slightly trending. So somebody actually suggested that I do this because I did a convention video a while back, and somebody wanted to know how to survive a convention. So I decided to have a panel, and this is my first time, so please don't judge me too hard. I've been to 24 conventions in the span of 7 years. I know. And most of those times I didn't have a car, so that was really hard. But I learned a lot from those 7 years, and I've come to share with you guys. So without further ado, here's the first one. What to expect when you're expecting.
Wait a minute, you stole that.
Yeah.
Probably a popular book for women to have on their first day.
Yeah. So it's not, I say it's not your parents' convention because it really isn't your parents' convention. Like most conventions parents know of are more attuned to their jobs. This is not one of those things. This is a really long, there we go. All right. So what are conventions? They're super awesome things, or places for super awesome people who like super awesome or super creepy things. Maureen! Hey!
Find it. Found it.
Nice. I should probably ask, how many of you have actually been to a convention other than this one? You have. What have you been to?
Anime Iowa and Anime Zone.
Oh, really? So you're from the Quad City area-ish?
No, I'm from here.
Oh, you're from here? But you went to Anime Zing? That's cool. Sorry. So yeah, I live in the QC area, so I was there from the beginning. What about you, Maureen? Probably haven't been to one.
Iowa.
What?
Anime Iowa.
You have, really? Yeah. That's awesome. That's my stomping ground, is Anime Iowa. So, let's see.
In Iowa City.
Yes. Yeah. And I should probably go into more detail about the convention thing. A convention is a gathering of like-minded individuals celebrating their love of a certain genre of nerd culture, like, well, comic books or graphic novels or cartoons or even anime. Right now we're in a mini comic convention, so, which is funny because most of the things that are here today are not comic related.
I have a question.
Yes.
Does virology count as nerd culture?
Actually, yes.
Thank you. Now I feel better.
Good. Shoot. So, yeah, basically, they're super. All conventions are. So con season is usually between February to November. That's their peak season. But cons go all year round, everywhere. And that's usually, the statistics here are more for American conventions and sometimes Canadian ones. So, blah, blah. There's actually, you're probably wondering how many conventions there are. There's a lot. Like a lot. If you're really into stuff, there's like, okay, for example, if you really like Star Trek, Trek Fest. If you really like anime, then Anime Central in Chicago. If you like comics, Comic-Con. Or if you like dressing up as a furry animal and talking to other people who are dressed up as furry animals, Further Confusion. Or FurCon. There's a convention for literally everything. And if you really want to find a convention, but you don't really know how to go about it, you could always Google search it or do what I like to do and go to animecons.com. Unfortunately, the video is not working, so we have to go online. So you go to animecons.com, and you really want to figure out what convention you want to go to. So you go to conventions. As you can see, there's a lot of conventions, and it's not just in America. See, there's some in Canada. This is basically everywhere. So Germany. So you kind of want to figure out where conventions are in America. So you go to USA, very specific. As you can see, these are all the conventions coming up from, from this coming week, or this weekend to the future, basically, or whatever ones are already planned. But that's still very non-specific. Say you want to go somewhere in Florida. You click Florida. And there are all the Florida conventions ready and waiting for you to figure out. So let's say we want to go to MetroCon in July. And this has all the information about MetroCon, how old it is, who's the guests, what guests are coming so far, and sometimes they have their badge prices on there already, which is nice. So, but this one does not seem to have it, and there's a link to their site, but we're not going to click that just yet. So let's go back. Thank you. Jeez. All right. If I could have the thing. So basically, conventions are confusing as hell. They're really hard to navigate. You don't, most of the times, like these, they'll have a map, which is really awesome. But most of the time, for people like me who are panelists, it looks like this. Yeah, you really can't figure out anything, can you? So if you forget your number, your table number, these are all table numbers for dealer's room and artist alley. This is what you'd normally see. Again, it's very non-specific unless you have one of these packet things and have time to read through it, which most people don't. So, usually when you go to a convention, it pays to get to know your location. If you have it in Rosemont, Illinois, you want to know what's around Rosemont, how to get to your convention, and how to navigate throughout the hotel that your convention is at. Sign up for events early, like really, really early. If you want to sign up for something like a costume competition, you'll have to sign up as soon as submissions open, so you know that you need to get ready. So there's the masquerade, which is the costume competition. There are sometimes fancy dances, like fancy balls or something like that, so you'll want to have a nice dress ready for that. There are also autograph sessions from famous people like Vic Menomina. That's not his real name. Or human chess. That's actually a fun game. Sometimes they actually ask you to sign up beforehand. That's just an example. But there are other things that you really should sign up beforehand for at conventions if you really want to have a good time. Hygiene. That's my favorite thing. Hygiene is incredibly important. There's this thing called con-funk. Con-funk is when you don't shower at all and you just smell really bad. Some people like to wear the same costumes 3 days in a row, which is totally fine. I'm not judging, because I do that all the time. The problem is that they choose to not shower in between costume changes. And that's not cool. In fact, a lot of conventions know that this is a problem and very much advertise the use of soap. Soap is your friend at conventions. I can't emphasize that enough. Please make sure you wash yourself at conventions. 2, home is where the instant ramen is. This is for finding hotels and where your money will definitely, without a doubt, be going. Really. All right, come on. Here we go. So first up is pre-registration. Pre-registration is indeed your best friend because when you go to a convention, badge prices or your name tags, which we don't have them here, but at a regular convention, badge prices are upwards of $60. So you will want to pre-registration, which is usually open 6 months in advance. They usually have like really, really cheap prices, sometimes at lower than $20 for a whole weekend, which is really awesome. In fact, we are going to show you how to register. So this is Anime Iowa. You go to registration, figure out FAQ, so you want to know, how much our badge is and stuff like that, where you can get it, stuff, and all the information you will need to know about your badge. So you go to registration or online registration if it will let me. Apparently we are having some technical difficulties. Yeah, the internet is not nice to me today. There. So if you want to register online, that's cool. All you have to do is fill this stuff out and see See how they have different rates? They always keep by these rates. So right now, if you want to go to Anime Iowa, this is late registration. It's $50. At the convention, it's $60. Sponsorship rates are really awesome because you get free stuff. Like you get to go into the dealer's room early, the artist alley early, and you get discounts on everything. However, it's really expensive. This is the cheapest I've seen so far. There was a time in 2007 when Anime Iowa, the sponsorship was only $100, which was nice, but it was still a lot of money for a 12-year-old, so I didn't do it. So let's go back to the period print. Oh, geez. All right, pre-registration. Always register at least 3 months before a convention, so you actually have a spot. Because sometimes, like big conventions like San Diego Comic-Con, their badges sell out within the first 15 minutes of them opening. Yeah, I know. And they usually go by blocked rates, as the same with Anime Iowa. So once their badges are gone, they are gone. You can't get in. You can do day-by-day badges, but those are really hard to really get. So, or at least, you know, have a really cheap priced one, which is not cheap at all. I think it's like $150 a day. And this year, I believe San Diego Comic-Con is a full week, which is not atypical of a typical convention. There we go. That's what I wanted to say. Conventions usually last from 3 days. Sometimes small conventions like these are only a day. They are almost always on the weekends. Unless you are a big convention like Comic-Con or Wizard World, they usually last 4 to 7 days. And those are the ones that are really expensive. But everybody wants to go because they're super popular. So that's where your money is going. So another thing about hotels, this also applies to, or the 3-month thing also applies to hotels, because most conventions have this thing called a room block. They are specially discounted for convention goers and do sell out rather quickly, but they're really worth it because they're always closer to the convention, like within walking distance, which is something that you really do want. Sometimes you can get a cheaper hotel, which is awesome, but those are usually really far away. So, which brings us to money. Have some. Usually your money goes to stuff like cabs or shuttles or food. See, food. My gosh. Usually they don't have a con suite. A con suite is a place where you go and get food for free, which is nice because who doesn't like free food? Seriously, who doesn't like free food? Because you're crazy. You don't like free food.
I do.
You do? Okay. You sure about that?
Sometimes.
Okay. All right, anybody have any questions so far? None? Am I boring you? I'm sorry. Am I doing okay? Good?
Yeah, it's amazing how much, especially the remarks about the block hotels.
Yeah, a lot of, sorry.
They overlap with the professional meetings that I go to.
Yeah.
The thing is that sometimes those rates are actually higher, not lower.
I know, it's really funny. So you do have to be careful about that. It's good to always, compare between hotels. It always pays to compare with Priceline. I'm not being sponsored. So when it comes to food, like I said, sometimes conventions like Anime Iowa have a con suite. Most of the time they don't. So you have to buy your own food or bring your own. It's your choice, but either way, food costs money. If you have people coming with you, usually then you can figure out who's bringing what, and that's a nice thing to have, but we'll get to that later. Next one is emergency money. Sometimes things happen. People fall downstairs or trip and hurt themselves, or there's a fire for no reason at all. Sometimes somebody, funny story, at a convention I went to, somebody pulled the fire alarm during the masquerade, which is the biggest event at a convention, and everybody had to go out of this giant Hyatt. This is giant Hyatt Regency O'Hare in Chicago. Everybody had to have, it was just a mass exodus. It was terrible. And a lot of people got hurt because of this stupid thing, and there was no fire. People just wanted to pull the fire alarm to see what would happen. So, but yes, also apparently evil villains like to show up at conventions and kidnap people for their evil, dastardly plans. I've never heard of that happening, but it's a possibility. Yes, there's also the down payment for rooms. Sometimes hotels like to charge extra for, like, out of nowhere for people going to conventions. And they know you're going to a convention by the amount of luggage you're bringing. Plus the weekend, you know, they can kind of weed out who's going to be doing what. How much time do we have? Oh, perfect. Okay, cool. So sometimes it pays to call ahead to see what they plan on doing. Usually when you're paying for a room up front, you shouldn't use your credit card because they will charge you extra. Use cash, but if you don't feel comfortable using cash, that's fine. But do know that sometimes hotels have a nasty tendency to charge extra out of nowhere. I don't know why they do it, probably because they don't like the way that a lot of convention goers act, but just know that you may need extra money for that. There's also, you know, gas money and cab money for whatever it is you need to do. I don't think I put it, oh yes, con swag. It's a terrible name for stuff you buy, but everybody uses that word, so I guess we're gonna use it. So con swag. What is con swag? It's the stuff you buy at conventions. It could be comic books, it could be video games, it could be plush toys, it could be costume stuff, or it could be some mysterious prize you have to go through dungeons to get. It doesn't matter. Con swag is what you get, and you will want to buy stuff. Trust me. Because most of the stuff that you find in the dealer's room is hard to find anywhere else and for a cheaper price. Usually it pays to wait until Sunday to get your stuff because they will strike deals to get rid of their stuff because they got to meet a quota. It's fun to haggle. Sometimes the booths in the dealer's room don't do that, but the artist alley definitely will. Hotels and monetary needs again. Food, what you can and can't survive on. I keep meeting people who think that they can survive on these things and end up getting sick. You can't survive on candy. If you think you can survive a whole weekend just eating candy, you're wrong. The same with chips and excess. You can have chips. There's nothing wrong with eating candy or chips, but thinking you can survive on both at the same time, you're just going to end up sick. Ramen's cool. Some people opt to use ramen because it's cheap and it's filling and it's quick to have when you're in a hurry. You can't necessarily survive on it. You can if you want. It's fine. I personally do this all the time at conventions. I eat ramen, but it's not healthy for you. So I have to say that you probably should get something aside from ramen, candy, and, well, pizza. Water is your primary focus. I can't stress that enough. Bring your own water bottle. Always bring your own water bottle because water bottles at conventions are crazy expensive. They really are. I'm not kidding. They charge like $3 a bottle at the convention center and it's not fun. So bring your own canister. There's always a water fountain somewhere. So, but you know, they're usually hard to find. So bring water. And soda is not your primary focus. If you need to stay up, that's cool, but you shouldn't have to stay up too late. So next one, rooming and surviving with a group. This is the tricky part. Room with people you know and feel comfortable with. Usually friends or friends of friends. Sometimes people have friends of friends that you don't feel comfortable with. This is why you need to discuss this with your group. It pays to have people with you because it's a lot cheaper. And by a lot cheaper, I mean instead of having $60 plus the whole room to yourself and all this other stuff you're paying for, including gas, food, it's not fun to pay for by yourself, which is why you have people to come with you. So you have, yes, you can all sleep in one room, but it depends. If you find somebody who really wants to go to convention, but you don't know them, don't go with them. Usually new people need to earn their place within the ranks. It's true. I don't know. I once had a room with a friend of a friend. I didn't know them. I wasn't very comfortable with them, but I roomed with them anyways, and we ended up being pretty good friends. But still, it could have gone a lot worse. So pushing it to the limit may get you kicked out. This means that having more than the legal limit in a hotel room could get you kicked out. I'm not saying that you can't have more than 4 people, because as a person who's had to share a room with 9 people once, that was not fun, let me just say. It's really nice to have less than 9 people in a room, because at least you have somewhere to sleep. The legal limit is between 4 to 6 people per room, so you'd want to keep it between that or around that, which is, you know, good. I mean, unless you're not loud, but still, try to keep it between 4 and 6 people. Yeah, I've encountered this too many times. You want to collect all the room money, same time, like 3 months ahead of time. As a person who has, actually former president and founder of an anime club, I've had people drop out on me in the last minute, and it was not cool, because that meant that everybody else had to shell out another $100, which really wasn't cool, because conventions are expensive. They really are. I'm not going to lie. You're probably going to be poor by the end of this thing. So, don't drink or do drugs as a whole, because it really ruins the convention experience. However, if you're 21, you can drink, just don't do drugs. Because you can get kicked out real easily. Hotels like to find stupid reasons. If you get caught with a minor in your room while you're drinking, that's an offense, and they can kick you out. And you will get kicked out of the convention as well. They can do that. And the best thing about rooming is packing light, which no one does, which leads us to this next one. Packing your survival kit. So a lot of people tend to pack anything and everything they think they need. Video games, a bunch of stuffed animals, things they just don't need. Take what you need, not what you want. That is my advice. And that means take, like, if you know you need it, you absolutely need it for the weekend, take it. If it's something like a stuffed animal, something like you really don't need, like extra makeup that you don't need, or your computer, or a bunch of cameras that you will end up not ever using ever, don't use it. So don't overpack, because it really cramps up the room. Like if you have 6 people in a double suite with two double beds, you're gonna have like 6 suitcases plus however many suitcases or extra suitcases they want to bring for their costumes, and it's really crowded to begin with. So don't overpack. I know a person who brought a life-size cutout of a character that she ended up lugging everywhere. About 20 stuffed animals. This is between the 2 of them. They both brought 20, so about 40 stuffed animals, giant ones, not little ones. I'm not exaggerating. They were this big. They brought an unnecessary cooler, which we ended up never using, because we knew we would have refrigerators in the room. It always pays to figure out what you're going to have in the room before you bring stuff, which is what we did. But they brought coolers anyways. Let's see. They also brought a lot. Let's see. The people I stayed with were older than me. They were 21, so they brought a lot of alcohol. And because of that, I couldn't stay in that room. I had to go sleep in the other room with the other 8 people who couldn't drink. So they ended up having 4 in their room with all the stuff, and then us in 9 people in one room with all this stuff. So don't overpack, because you never know what's going to happen. You will need your ID to check in for your badge. You'll also need it for some panels, because some panels usually require you to be 18 or 16 and over. It's a weird thing, but understandable, and they will check your ID. So bring your ID. Also, like if you have a medical emergency and you can't call somebody, they want to check to see who you are. You also need money, which we've already discussed. Clothing. This is a very important thing for me because a lot of people I know, and including myself, tend to just bring their costume, and that's usually not okay. So let's go over clothing really quick. You want to bring your costume, street clothes, because sometimes your costume gets too hot or too cold and you need to bring something to warm you up or to walk around town with. You also need your pajamas, swimsuits if you plan on going swimming because you don't want to swim in your costume. That's a bad trip. Dancing clothes for what's called the rave. It's not actually a rave, it's just a dance that enforces glow sticks. And sometimes it's called the J-pop dance, but it's not actually a J-pop dance, like Japanese pop, because most people don't play Japanese pop. It's just club music sometimes with actual DJs, which is nice. But and then there's also the fancy dance with the dresses and stuff, because they do require dress codes if you sign up for that. But you know, that could also be your costume. It depends. You will also want walking shoes. You can't walk in stilettos everywhere. I know that for a fact. Also boots. You can, sometimes it sucks to walk around in boots on a really hot day. So it pays to bring flip-flops or tennis shoes. Like if you're gonna, like if your hotel is really far away but you don't have a shuttle or a car and you need to walk to the convention, stilettos are not the way to go. I'm looking at you, sir. No stilettos. Okay. Yes, bring walking shoes. Comfortable shoes that you feel okay walking in for mass amounts of time. You do need to bring shoes, by the way. Most conventions do not allow you to be barefoot. It's mostly because it's mostly because there's a lot of stuff on the floor and it's just nasty and gross, and I don't even want to go into too much detail with that. Bring food and water. I can't I can't emphasize enough how much you need water. You don't think you need it, but you do. Bottled water. And toiletries. A lot of people forget that they need to brush their teeth or need deodorant or soap because of confunk. Confunk is gross. This is the main reason, is because people forget their stuff. If you forget your stuff, most hotels have those vending machines where you can actually buy toothbrushes, toothpaste, and stuff like that, or like little, you know, booths down there for some reason, I guess. But you know, it happens. Just make sure you have all your toiletries with you. And sometimes if you lose it, it's no big deal. There's also those little travel pack things. You probably all know that hotels provide shampoo and conditioner for you, but sometimes they don't. Like if you stay at a Big 8 motel, they won't provide it for you, or they do and it ends up having like a ton of mold in it. Travel size. They're fun. You'll also want your sewing kits if you have a costume, because anything and everything will go wrong with your costume. I'm not kidding. I wish I were kidding, but it happens to everyone, unless you like somehow like triple reinforced your costume to the point where it's indestructible. Even then, you will still need your sewing kit because something will happen. And if in case you forget anything or think you need more, there's also this thing. If I could open it real quick. So there's this helpful little list here. And if anybody needs the website, I can provide it afterwards. But yeah, this is what I call overpacking, but some of this is actually really important. So, you know, it's nice to have some of it. Like they will have they go into like why you need cranberry juice and stuff like that. But like this is usually what most people bring to conventions, food-wise anyways. Sometimes you will need to bring a pillow or a blanket. It just pays to be prepared. I don't know why that did that. So there's also, let's see. What? That's right, back up everything. I kid you not. You need, if you have one water bottle, that's too bad. You need to bring 2. You have one toothpaste little tube, you need to bring 2, or a big one. You will lose something. You need to bring extra chargers or extra hairbrushes, wig heads, even silverware, because sometimes you don't have silverware and you just need a good Nutella marshmallow sandwich. Those are really good. They're really good. I'm sorry. That's what we had for ASEN, and that was not the best thing, but at least we survived. But yes, you need to back up everything. Which brings us to the highway to hell. Traveling around conventions are really, really hard because you've got to walk everywhere, or sometimes you have to drive to and from, and that gets really expensive. So most people opt for walking. So know your gas prices and your miles per gallon. If you're taking a car to a convention, you need to know how much gas prices are so you can all shell out the money beforehand, so you're not scrambling to figure out, oh gosh, how much is this? Oh man, that's really expensive. I don't have enough money for that. I won't have enough money for con swag. Oh no! So it pays to know what kind of car you're taking as well, so you know how much gas it's going to guzzle up. So if you're flying there, because sometimes it's across the country and you don't want to drive 24 hours to go to Florida. I know from Iowa it's not 24 hours, it's only 13 to go to Florida, but still, flying, you should probably figure out airfare and how much carry-ons are, or like if they have a certain policy for giant weapons. Weapons, I'm pointing to the camera because you can't bring weapons onto an airplane. If you do, heavy props can be, heavy props can be sent ahead of time using the mailing system. It's actually great. You can send it to your hotel. A lot of people do this. A lot of famous cosplayers who have like giant hulking costumes that can't take it onto their airplane, they do have to send it. So there's also money for that. So figure out parking before you get to the con. Sometimes parking gets jacked up, sometimes it stays the same, but you will want to know how much it is per day because, again, you'll want to shell out money beforehand. Make sure you have all this money ready. It pays to be prepared. And does your hotel have a shuttle? Is it free? That's awesome. Use it. Hotel shuttles are awesome when you are just super sore or you're sick and you can't go anywhere, or you just want to go back to your hotel room, especially at like 3 in the morning after the dance. You will definitely want to use a shuttle. Those are really nice. Hi there. How you doing? That's good. Cool. Come on in. We're just going over some stuff. So, where was I? Shuttles, right? Yes. Okay. Sometimes shuttles do cost money, and there are shuttles that can take you around town, which is nice because if you get bored of the convention, you can always, explore the town. If it's a small town, it's not worth it, but still, it's cool to look around. Maybe they have a Krispy Kremes. Who doesn't like Krispy Kremes? Have you two been to a convention before, aside from this?
She has, and I'm a 10-year vet at Comic-Con.
Really? That's awesome. We were just talking about San Diego not too long ago. That's awesome. So,
if you want any extra tips on San Diego Con?
Exactly. We're going to have a Q&A session and just a general talking session after this. But if you do have any questions, feel free to ask. We went over packing and what a convention is, so you guys already should know that. Hi. How are you? She's so cute. She dressed up as Rapunzel. So, use a shuttle if it's free. If it costs money, it's all right. Usually it's not too much, but it's still... It gets pricey, so you want to know how much a shuttle is. Again, bring walking shoes. Remember, no stilettos. Okay? They really do hurt to walk in for long periods of time. Convention etiquette. This is my favorite part of the thing because a lot of people tend to forget convention etiquette. So what is convention etiquette? Basically, knowing the rules and obeying them. That means both the convention and the hotel, and basically just etiquette in general. If you go to a hotel, they will have specific rules. Like, don't have the music up too loud, or don't, if your guests are, or if you bother your guests, you get one warning, otherwise you get kicked out. A lot of really specific rules, especially for hotels that are hosting conventions. Conventions usually have rules like get your weapons piece marked, which means taking your weapons and getting them approved by the staff so you can carry it around and hopefully not hurt anybody. You can take real weapons, but you can't take projectile weapons. You can't take real guns. But you can take fake guns painted to look real as long as they have the orange cap at the top. You should be fine. Swords should be sheathed at all times unless you're using them for a photo shoot, which are usually outside, but most of the time you will want them in their sheath, or if you don't have one, then it's a fake sword, it's fine. Like a lot of people who cosplay the character Deadpool, they want to use the katanas. Sometimes they're not real. Most of the times they're not real because you gotta hold them on your back, and if you fall, that could be painful. So, but you should always get them piece marked, always. Even if like it's a ton of stuff, you still gotta get it piece marked. Don't be a dink. That's a nice way of saying don't be the D word. I'm trying to watch my language. I really am. So what does that mean? Basically, don't mess with people you don't know. Like if you're just messing with them to be funny and they don't enjoy it and they ask you to stop, then stop and apologize. Just if you mess with their stuff, don't mess with their stuff. If you think something's cool, ask permission first. Don't just assume you can touch everything. Don't overpack. That's another thing that we already went over that, but it's still nice to not overpack. It's not just for you, but for everybody in the room. Be nice to staffers and volunteers. They put a lot of effort into making your convention experience the best convention experience. Sometimes they get a lot of crap for enforcing the rules a little harsher than what they should be, but in their defense, they've been planning this for over a year. So it's really if you see a staffer or a volunteer and they're doing their job, they're working hard at it, remember to thank them because they work hard for you. Don't block hallways. This is one that always bothers me. If you're taking a picture, that's cool, but it really sucks when you're in a narrow hallway like at Anime Iowa or Anime Zing or a lot of like smaller conventions with narrow hallways. People tend to take pictures right in the middle, which blocks traffic, which is not cool. Usually if you need to take a picture, pull them aside and take it somewhere else that's less crowded or outside maybe. Usually it pays to wait for photo shoots, but then again, some people don't like wearing the same costumes 3 days in a row or 7 days in a row. So there's also people who just like to sit in the middle of hallways. I have no words for those people. I mean, it's cool that you guys want to hang out, but don't sit in the middle of a hallway in the middle of a convention where there's thousands of people trying to walk to and from. And if you're sitting down and there's a lot of people, you can't see them and you could fall over them and hurt yourself and them and a lot of people around you. And it's really not fun. Don't glomp people without permission. Glomping is a running tackle. Usually with a lot more love than a running tackle, but it still hurts. If you want, glomping can get really bad really, really quickly. Like some people, especially young girls, really like certain characters. They usually run and hug them without thinking. Some people have health problems. They could have back issues, heart problems, lungs issues. It doesn't matter. It just, like I saw one girl actually running tackle a wheelchair once because somebody was cosplaying Professor X because it was cool. I mean, it was clever, but at the same time, she almost knocked over his wheelchair. Yeah. And he had an oxygen tank on there, so. Yeah, see? It's pretty bad. Somebody else, I don't know if anybody knows of Greg Ayers. Has anybody heard of Greg Ayers, the voice actor? Yeah, he frequents Anime Iowa a lot. A couple of years back, some girl who was really, really into Ouran High School Host Club freaked out at the fact that, oh my God, one of the twins is here. And almost seriously hurt him. He was supposed to DJ the dance, but he couldn't because he got hurt. So don't glomp people without permission. If you want to, you can ask and be like, hey, can I glomp you or hug you or something? And they're like, yeah, sure, that's fine. That way they can prepare themselves. Cosplay does not equal consent. A lot of people think that just because you're in costume means that you can basically do whatever you want to them. They're free game. So you can grab boobs, grab packages, grab butts. It's uncomfortable. It's just because they're dressed up as your favorite character. This also applies to glomping people. Just don't do it. If you want to take a picture and they're willing to do something quote-unquote lewd, then ask them first. They will not take off their clothes for you. They will not describe what they had to do to get into this costume because of their dieting habits or something. Or no, they will not sleep with you or grab your junk. Don't ask those questions. You will get hit in the face. Prepare early. Again, that also applies to convention etiquette. That's for everybody, including yourself and the group. It just pays to prepare early. Hey. Watch what you wear. I say watch what you wear because sometimes things get snagged. Like, say if you're a scantily clad cosplayer dressing like, I don't know, just wearing a bikini top or something. People like to pull the strings off of bikini tops because it's fun. Also, again, consent. It's really easy to get stuff caught on things. Like some people like to dress up and there was a guy dressed up as Rocky from the Rocky Horror Picture Show. He was not aware that his shorts were falling down, and it hurt him. He hurt himself. Let's just say that. A lot of people tend to get hurt. Another thing, medical emergencies. Sometimes if you're wearing like 6-inch heels, then they tend to break. So bring an extra pair. Even if they're like $100, then you probably shouldn't have $100 stilettos anyways at a convention because they're probably going to get ruined. If you're cosplaying Elsa from Frozen, she has a super long train. You should never bring a super long train to a convention because it will get stepped on and ruined and torn off, and sometimes even your costume will get torn off, and that's just embarrassing. This also applies to capes or robes or, well, anything that's long and drapey. It usually pays to cut it short. No one will judge you, and if they do, then you have permission to punch them in the face. No, don't punch them in the face. That's illegal, I guess. Hygiene is very important. Again, soap is your best friend. Shower frequently. Don't allow con-funk to happen, even though it happens a lot and it's just terrible because you go in for a hug and it smells really bad and you can't help it, but you know, it's just, if you can't help it, then you can help it. Take a shower. Like, I kid you not, sometimes I shower too much. I fell asleep in a tub once. It wasn't fun. And yes, post-convention plague. This is a thing that happens. It's basically sometimes people go to conventions and they're very adamant about going, but they're sick. So because you're in a crowded place full of 1 billion people who are also passing on that illness, you will probably get that illness. So know beforehand that you're probably going to get sick if you go to a convention. It's also where you get really tired and just really droopy afterwards. It's a lot of energy to go to a convention. And once you're out of that convention, all that energy is just, you can't do anything about it. You'll also be poor as poop. Because again, not just cosplay, but conventions take up a lot of money. You will probably use up your entire life savings in that one weekend because, let's face it, there's just a lot of really cool stuff that you want to buy that you can't get anywhere else. You'll be sad and tired because, again, lots of energy. You spent most of your time preparing for this convention. You're earning so much money to buy all these things and make sure that you have a place to sleep and things to eat and a place to put your car or your friend's car or whatever. It's just a lot of time and energy that you won't have anymore, and you'll wonder what you're gonna do. So you plan for next year. And the most important rule of all is have fun. Because conventions are there for you. That is what they are. Hopefully this helps you like somehow ease your tension about going to your next convention and figuring out what exactly you need to do. So that's the main rule, is just have fun doing it. Do what you love and make sure you're having fun. All right, any questions? No? Oh, thank you. Thank you for that small clap. Any questions, comments, or anything? What was it like going to San Diego Con, or Comic-Con?
A lot of way to go.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, everything up there, especially the con crowd.
Yeah.
I generally either Monday or Tuesday after the convention.
Bye, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
I'm just done I'm coughing.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, San Diego Con is just massive. You have to plan ahead.
Mm-hmm.
You spend a lot of time in line for anything you want to do.
Yep. That applies to a lot of major conventions, not just that. Wizard World is a lot of waiting. Sometimes Anime Iowa is a lot of waiting, but not too much. Questions, comments, anything? Cool stories to share?
I didn't have any cool stories. I just went with Shelly that one time.
Oh, okay.
Remember? I met you.
Yes, I do remember, actually. Sorry, this is my friend Maureen. She goes to conventions sometimes.
Sometimes.
Whereas I go to them like all the time. If anybody's interested, I do have a YouTube channel. I think I said that at the beginning. And I have a cosplay page because of my work. I work for D20 Girls, and we have to have a fan page for some reason. I don't know why, but we have one. So, if anybody's interested, I can give you the website for the for anything you want to see up there, like the animecons.com, which is easy to remember, or the packing list for conventions.
When is Anime Iowa?
Anime Iowa is July 11th, I think, through the July 25th through the 27th. Last year was the 11th. So, there's also a Tumblr convention coming up called DashCon, and that's also in July. I think it's like 2 weeks beforehand. So if you really like Tumblr, DashCon. That's in Schaumburg, Illinois. I was like, I think it's like half an hour away from downtown Chicago. I think.
I didn't know they had something.
Any other questions? Anything you want to see particularly? Something? No? Okay, well that does it for me. Thank you guys for coming, and I hope you enjoyed what I had to say. Did I do good? Yes. Did I do good? Yes. This is my first panel. Yes. All right, well thank you very much.